It's hard to express it in words how proud we are of this group of players.
Back-to-back champs, the Penguins defend the cup and keep it here in Pittsburgh.
It's been a great year, and I'm pretty thankful.
Now, for the second year in a row, Pittsburgh gets ready to celebrate.
We set out to try to go back-to-back. We knew it was going to be difficult.
The city honoring the Pens.
I got my t-shirt signed by Sidney Crosby.
Why are you crying?
Because it's the best day of my life.
With a parade celebrating the champs.
Knowing how difficult it is to repeat, it's pretty cool we found a way to do it.
Hundreds of thousands of fans line the streets as the Stanley Cup comes home once again.
The Penguins have scored again, and it is Crosby again. Assist to Mike Sullivan. Comes right back with Crosby's wide.
And good morning, Pittsburgh. We are so excited to be here with you at Point State Park. This is it. It's parade day, folks. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Yes, good morning. I'm Andrew Stockey, Champ Ryan with you. Also, Kelly Sasso and Ryan Record, the star of this parade. A parade a year in the making. They said a year ago, at least General Manager Jim Rutherford said, hey, you know, we can do this again. And here we are, celebrating a back-to-back Stanley Cup championship.
Kelly and Ryan, we are at Point State Park. This is a wonderful place to end the parade, but I understand you both are a bit farther up the parade route, ready to watch the team, the Pittsburgh Penguins, come down with that beautiful Stanley Cup. How are the crowds where you are now?
Well, Shannon and Andrew, sounds loud down where they are. And this crowd here, Kelly, they're getting ready to roar.
That's right.
They've been lined up for several hours here on this hot but beautiful day in our beautiful city as they're getting ready to celebrate the champions for the second straight year. We're getting used to this. There was a period from 1992 through 2006 where there were no championships. Now this is our fifth in the last 8 years.
And you know, I talked to a lot of folks this morning who said they couldn't make it last year, but because it's the second year, they had to be here. This is a historic moment in the city. A dynasty is being created as we speak. So we're getting to see the fans here at the beginning, also the logistical nightmare for the city works department and for our police officers, but so far everything here is going off without a hitch.
And in mentioning that, Kelly, you have to give credit to the city for putting this all together. This is no small task.
And so fast.
And so fast. I know they've done it before, so some of it is routine for them, but the police officers, the paramedics, the workers, and so forth, to be able to pull this together. And once again, the route that we've all gotten used to will be the route again today, as the players will come down on trucks and in cars down the busway, make the left onto Grant Street, proceed all the way down to Boulevard of the Allies, and then take it all the way home to Point State Park.
Yeah, sort of a different perspective. You got the main stage down where Andrew and Shannon are, but here we're going to get our first glimpse of the cup and of all the players.
And the cup has obviously made its way around town. We saw Sidney Crosby with it. As soon as he got off the plane, took it right to Sewickley and let the folks there join in the cup celebration as soon as they arrived back from Nashville. So here we are at the beginning of the parade route. We're going to be showing you the players as they roll through. This young guy and hundreds of thousands of others ready to celebrate the Pens. We'll check back in just a little bit.
All right, Kelly and Ryan, I want you both to look up in the sky right now, because up there you will see Sky 4 with Action Cam, and wave to them. Hi, Sky 4. Sky 4 is live over the Golden Triangle, the city of Pittsburgh. And I just read something this morning that was really interesting. You know, this year they decided to end right here in this parade in Point State Park. If you look at the Penguins logo, and sometimes you can see it right there. It's behind me on the main stage. There's a triangle in that logo. That triangle is there for a reason. Where we're sitting right here, the confluence of three rivers is woven into the very logo of the Pittsburgh Penguins franchise here. And there's a reason for that. And there's just so much poetry and beauty when you think about the fact that the Stanley Cup will be perched here at Fort Pitt Point State Park, really at the heart of this city in just a couple of hours.
And when you think about it, this is the 50th anniversary of this franchise. 5 Stanley Cups, and this is the 5th. What a great way to end the 50th year of Penguin hockey. Once again, Sky 4 live with Action Cam, and we're here in Point State Park, and all morning long this crowd has been growing and growing. Right now, it's beginning to build. They're all excited because they're watching the highlight film from this past year's Stanley Cup playoff run, and they're watching all the great plays. It really is a remarkable scene right now. It's only going to get bigger as we get closer and closer to the big event here on the main stage sometime afternoon.
Yeah, we are expecting about 500,000. That's 500,000 hot and sweaty Pittsburgh Penguins fans to be here. And we're very excited that they'll be here. We're right among them, and it's so exciting. And we're going to check back with you a little bit as this crowd continues to grow.
If there are 2 people who qualify for local sainthood, they are Mario Lemieux and Sidney Crosby.
We want to show you the parade route now. It's just lined with that black and gold. You can see the fans pouring in, figuring out how to get here. You know, the road shut down around 9 a.m. today. Our Caitlin Sykes is around along the parade route too. She's going to be ground level. Sky 4 is showing you the parade route overhead. And it doesn't really matter where you are. If you're on Grant Street, the Boulevard of the Allies, you're on Commonwealth Place. Most people probably never heard of Commonwealth Place. It's the road right in front of Point State Park, right by what we used to call the Hilton. You know, the Sheraton, whatever. Now it's the Wyndham Hotel, and that's Commonwealth Place, and that is where that parade is going to wrap up and end this year. It does not matter where you are. If you find a spot on that parade route, everybody be nice. Don't be a jag-off. Be nice to your fellow Pittsburgh Penguins fans, and let them in, especially the kids, so they can get their eyes on the cup. That cup's going to be right in front of you, Pittsburgh, and it's yours.
And we got a sneak peek. We have a list of the members of this parade. 73 vehicles will be driving, down the Boulevard of the Allies. And of course, the Stanley Cup is saved for the very end. Sidney Crosby will have not only the Stanley Cup, but also the Conn Smythe Trophy as the playoff most valuable player. Now, along that route, we're going to see some players with their own individual cars, guys like Phil Kessel, Evgeny Malkin. Chris Kunis will be with the Prince of Wales Trophy. You'll also see Mario Lemieux and Ron Burkle, the co-owners of this team, the gentlemen who invested in this team, kept it here in Pittsburgh, and now look what they've done. 3 Stanley Cups under this new ownership group. That is remarkable. So you're going to see all that on the parade route. You'll see people on the streets. You'll see a lot of people in the buildings as well, because a lot of people had to go to work today. But at noontime, okay, we'll take a break and we'll go out and watch the parade.
Yeah, there are a lot of people at quote-unquote work today in the city of Pittsburgh. Not a lot of productivity happening here in the city of Pittsburgh today. And anybody who's a Penguins fan really across the world is going to be tuning in here. And yes, you're watching us on this TV. You might be watching us on the WTAE mobile app. Tell your friends. Say, hey, maybe you can't be at the parade today. Maybe you can even be at the parade. You can still watch it on your mobile app because we are streaming it live. And you're going to want to see it. Take a break from what you're doing. If you're at home, don't do any cleaning today. Don't do any yard work today. Take a few hours off. This is it. This is it, Pittsburgh. We need to show you the Stanley Cup. It's coming home, and it's yours.
Well, you know, it really hasn't gone anywhere. We had it last year. We have it again this year.
Take good care of it.
And I'll tell you, the Cup has already made some visits around town. Sidney Crosby had it the first night, took it around Sewickley to a supermarket, to a grocery store. Then last night at PNC Park, the Pirates and Penguins got together. The Cup was in the clubhouse. The Cup was in the stands on the field before the game. I mean, the Stanley Cup, as we like to call it, the Summer Stanley, it's going to be everywhere. So you're going to have ample opportunity to see it. But today might be your best chance to see it in all its glory, with nearly 500,000 people enjoying the festivities of this second Stanley Cup championship celebration.
Last year, I think it was you, Andrew, who coined the term Summer of Stanley. You're the first person I heard to say Summer of Stanley. We're going to change it and just call it the City of Stanley. We're going to tweak it a little bit. We're having another Summer of Stanley because this is 2 in a row.
We are getting used to it. In fact, this is since 2005. Think about this. The 5th championship parade Pittsburgh has hosted. 2 Steelers Super Bowl parades and 3 Penguin championship parades. And we've done it a lot of different ways, but having it back here at Point State Park kind of takes you back to the days back in the 1970s when the Steelers, when they won Super Bowls, this is where they celebrated. So it's kind of taking us back to those glory days.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we are so glad you're joining us. This is just a time to celebrate. Are we showing Sky 4 with Action Cam ahead? We got to get to our reporters along the parade route. Here's the thing. With our vantage point, we are able to give you a bunch of different angles of this whole parade. So if you're at the parade, you kind of can see where you are. You can see the Stanley Cup from your position, but if you're watching us on TV, on this TV, or if you're watching us on the WTAE mobile app or WTAE.com, you're going to see it all. You're going to see it from the time that parade steps off to the very end. We're going to see speeches here on the main stage where you can expect Sidney Crosby. We can expect some other players to come up and talk about what this means to them. Andrew, I have to ask you, so, you know, when you see folks come down the street, and like you said, we're used to this.
Yes.
You talked about Phil Kessel. Are there some of those younger players? We talked about the combination of some of the older players like Matt Cullen and some of those newer, younger players just crushing it. And Gensel, you know, who's going to get the loudest screams, or who's going to get a scream that maybe surprises you?
Well, I think Marc-Andre Fleury will get, without question, the biggest applause, because there is this speculation, this feeling this is it for him. He'll get a bigger applause. Matt Cullen, of course, will get a big applause. Some of the younger players as well will be celebrated because this will be their first time through the parade. Now, we, of course, are right here at the stage central, but there's a lot going on along the parade route. Let's turn things over to Pittsburgh's Action News 4 reporter Caitlin Sykes along the parade route to give us a bird's eye view. Caitlin.
Hi, Andrew. Yeah, we are along the parade route right now along Grand Street. It's loud out here. There are a ton of people out here lining both sides of Grand Street, up and down, waiting for the parade to start here in just a little bit. See, they're wearing their shirts. We've got signs. People have been out here for hours. In fact, we were at Point State Park earlier this morning talking with fans who had been here since last night. They said there is no other place they'd rather be today.
It's a celebration like no other.
It's awesome. Back-to-back champs. You got to be here.
I just want to see everybody on the stage, all the players. And so I don't know if we'll get to see the parade where we're sitting, but I'm excited to see them on the stage.
Pens fans started packing Point State Park as early as Tuesday night to be a part of history.
Not every city can say that they have five-time champs, and to have back-to-back champs in this salary cap era, it's a tough thing to do, and to achieve that feat and to get to witness that it's awesome, and you know you might never get to see it again.
From lawn chairs to blankets, coolers, and even homemade Stanley Cups, fans eager to celebrate. The city putting together the victory parade and celebration in a matter of days, and fans told me being here is a must.
We won the Stanley Cup and we're here to support our favorite team.
I had to work last year, so I couldn't come last year, so I got this year off.
2 years in a row celebrating the champions on ice, and fans who would be here no matter the cost.
Twice as exciting because of the back-to-back and just excellent, awesome. It's Pittsburgh, man. You got to be here.
So that's just a fraction of what we saw earlier this morning at Point State Park. I can only imagine what it looks like down there right now, the end of the parade. And here you're taking a look at a portion of it along Grant Street. Thousands of people are out here right now, and the parade doesn't start for another 45 minutes or so. But people are so excited to see this team, 2 times Stanley Championship winner in the past 2 years. Such a great accomplishment, and everyone here wants to support them and honor them here today. And of course, we're going to have much more for you throughout the morning. For now, they're reporting live. Caitlin Sykes, Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Caitlin Sykes, thank you so much. I know Caitlin's a Pittsburgh girl. She's from the Shaler area, North Hills, and she, you know, like me, grew up watching Pittsburgh sports, and this means so much to so many people who are from here, but you don't have to be from the city of Pittsburgh to really embrace and love and have a passion for the Pittsburgh Penguins, and to see the adversity that this team overcame, not just this season, but in the past. And when you talk about, you know, concussions during the playoffs, you talk about, you know, really so many people thought they'd be down with injuries, and they managed. They always said, we're going to find a way. Coach Mike Sullivan said this team finds a way. Even if, I hate to admit it, if you had doubt in your heart, the Penguins found a way to win this year.
And I don't doubt a lot of people doubted they would get to this point, but they did, as you said before. They were able to get through the tough times. They were able to get through the adversity and the injuries, and here they are as we continue to show you images of the crowd right now and the fans out here. I mean, this crowd is really growing. They're estimating 500,000. You know what? Early on, you can believe it's going to happen.
Ryan and Kelly, what you guys got going on over there?
Hey, we got the team! We got the team! Here, let's step out of the way so they can see. This is the team. Coming in with a police escort, we have the team. A lot of shouting from fans here, obviously making their way to the parade. The moment everyone's been waiting for to welcome these 2-time Stanley Cup, or should I say back-to-back Stanley Cup champs, back to the city of Pittsburgh for this parade. They got to get here somewhere, and there they are in their coach buses.
Several buses rolling through, as you saw, and then the players and personnel, family members will make their way off those buses and into the various trucks and cars to get the parades a little more than a half hour away from the parade getting underway. And you hear the cheers here from these folks. And let's talk to this young man here who was here last year, young Michael. You might as well do it again another year, right?
Yeah.
Before we start talking three-peat, tell me about this repeat. What did you like most about this second run to the Cup?
I like that Hornquist scored, and we won the Cup again for another year.
All right, he said it all. Hornquist scoring, the Cup-winning goal, of course, the other night against his old team, the Nashville Predators. When you look down here, Kelly, it is remarkable. It's such a sight to see that these people have been lined up for several hours. You had a chance to talk to some of them earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, on the morning newscast today, there were people there. It was still dark outside, and Caitlin was out there talking to them. And I can tell you, just a minute ago, I was trying so hard. The windows on those buses were tinted. I was trying to see in, but of course, you know, you want to see inside. And I saw a lot of them were smiling and waving, and so I know they're just as pumped as all of these thousands of people are to be here this afternoon.
And you think about the emotions of those players, what they've gone through, the grind of a postseason, and really if you date back to last season, they played almost 50 extra games, 50 playoff games. Some of the players played in the World Cup as well last year, so their off season last year was cut short. You go through the grind of the playoffs. Some of them are injured. You have the celebration, of course, the other night in the past couple of days. So they're just getting ready to exhale today.
Take the deep breath.
Yes,
exactly.
Take all of this in today, then take the deep breath, and of course get on to their summer. But before that, one big celebration here today in Pittsburgh.
Yes, you know who else is taking a deep breath, I think, is Pittsburgh's Action News 4, Guy Junker, can finally spend some time at home. He is here. We're going to go to him now live. Guy, tell us what you're seeing.
Yeah, you guys are talking about the emotion that the players go through. How about the emotion that the city goes through? To me, one of the saddest things after the Steelers lose a playoff game or the Penguins are eliminated from the playoffs are when you see the homemade signs and they get wet in the rain and they're just drooping on people's porches or their decorations start to fall down and it ends in a disappointment. We got some nice signs here, some young fans making signs hoping to see some of the Pens go by in the parade. What's your name, hon?
Vivian.
Vivian, who's your favorite Penguin?
Crosby.
If you got a chance to meet him, what would you say to him?
I don't know.
Congratulations, maybe? Well, they got their homemade signs going here, and the city's just so happy when we win a championship, and we've had a lot more of them to celebrate than most cities have. Kim is with me here from Newcastle. Kim, what time did you get down here today?
I got down here about 8:15.
That's not too bad. The people I talked to down at the point were there before it was light out this morning, so this was probably a better spot to pick.
I thought I was early, but apparently not then, right?
How involved were you in watching the game? Did you watch all the games? Was it a must thing to do in your house?
I did not watch all the games, I have to admit it. Yeah, so I know. I watched a few at the end, yes.
That's okay. That's what it's all about. Dale's here. He's from Monroeville. Dale, you already got the back-to-back shirt on here. I still have one from 91, 92. It says back-to-back.
I do too. But
I think my wife shrunk it, though. It doesn't quite fit the way it used to. What do you think this means to the city? I mean, it's the first time in the salary cap era. It's a rare thing in hockey to be able to build something like this now.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic for the city. It's good for the sport too. I mean, salary cap. I mean, you know, they worked real hard. We had a strike to get it in. So, I mean, it just goes to show that, you know, some good management can really get a team, you know, to these stages right here. You know, good for Rutherford and good for the, you know, ownership.
Let me ask both of you, if one guy would get out of his car today and come over here to talk to you, which one would you like to hear? Who would you like to meet?
Crosby.
Everybody wants to sit. How about you, Dale?
Malkin,
there you go. Okay. Yeah. That conversation would be a little shorter, and you might not understand all of it, but all right. Well, enjoy the day. Thanks for the time. Yeah, you think about the amount of time the Pirates have been in business, and they started in 1887. They've averaged a championship about once a quarter century. The Steelers started in 1933. They've averaged one about every 14 years. The 50-year celebration of the Penguins, holy cow, they've averaged a championship every 10 years. And for those of us that had season tickets in the early days when, frankly, they were mostly a joke, that's the hardest part to believe. Back to you guys.
Guy, thank you very much. And Guy is somebody who has been following the Penguins since before they were really popular. He was a season ticket holder way back when the old Civic Arena was so empty you could probably carry on a conversation from one side of the arena to the other.
Isn't that amazing where we've come?
And how far this city has come in terms of becoming a hockey city, and that really all turned around, obviously, 33 years ago when Mario Lemieux was drafted in 1984, and it took off from there.
Yeah, it's a different era, that's for sure. Now, I know this morning Ashley was saying we could have some rain. It could still happen. She said it wouldn't be until later in the parade. So far, it's hot.
Right now, the umbrellas are only being used for shade from the sun, yes.
Exactly, but so far so good. You really couldn't ask for better weather. I think we're going to get an update now from Miss Ashley Doherty in the studio. Ashley.
Yeah, you know, I have to tell you, I have never been jealous of my coworkers until today. We're in the studio and they're down there enjoying the parade, but I'll tell you what, the good thing is we've got you covered here if you're at home as well. And take a look down at Point State Park. You can see the sun is shining, and with all of our live shots, sunny skies. But keep in mind, this is going to kind of be like a day like yesterday, where as we progress and in closer around lunchtime is when we're going to start to see some of these thunderstorms popping. So possibility of it being downtown around 1 o'clock really as the parade ends. But most of us seeing fair skies. We do have some clouds mainly just east of us right now. A little bit of rain activity into Columbus, but nothing too significant. So again, we are seeing temperatures really heating up. 77 degrees right now. That dew point at 68 degrees. So the humidity is up. Those winds are coming out of the southwest, only about 6 miles per hour. So just a light breeze down there. But even with the breeze, it's going to be very hot, warm air. But overall, here's what you can expect for the parade and for the rest of the day. Still around lunchtime, we will notice these clouds starting to increase. And then as we get around 1, 2 o'clock, so I think towards the end of the parade, there is a chance for a few thunderstorms, but I think they're going to get it in okay. It's late afternoon, early evening when we'll continue to see thunderstorms and still very warm up near 86 degrees. Bovta.
Actually, the parade doesn't start till 11 o'clock. Of course, we have crews in place right now. And this is where you need to know the parade route is happening. Liberty Avenue between 10th and Grant. Again, this starts at 11 o'clock. The parade midpoint, Grant Street at Boulevard of the Allies, and then we finish off at Point State Park, of course. This is a beautiful moment, as we've been talking about, for the city and for so many folks who have really watched the Penguins go through this. We do want to point out the closures that'll be going on. Commonwealth Place between Liberty Avenue and Fort Pitt Boulevard, that's closed, as well as Grant Street between 5th Avenue and Liberty Avenue, also closed. Now we want to head out to our Sam Hall, who of course is in Sky 4 with a bird's eye view of the energy down below.
Absolutely amazing stuff. The city of parades, no longer the city of bridges. Both you can see all the folks down at Point Park and aligning the parade route. Traffic not that bad. If you're headed into the city on the Parkway West, you really kind of cruise down the hill. Very heavy now on the Parkway West. Don't try to park downtown. Take the T or park over on the south side and get a boat over into the city. We're back in moments.
Dog when people come to games. It is. It's really good. I enjoy the response of people responding to the phrases that I use. That's all part of it. But it just makes it all work, and it's just fun to do. And when it's fun to do, then you got something going.
Hey, Pittsburgh! It is a beautiful day, and guess what? This is your city, this is your time, and this is your Stanley Cup Parade. We are so excited that you're joining us here on TV, on the web, wherever you're finding us. We're so glad that you did. Tell your friends that we're doing this parade. We're covering this. We're getting closer and closer to the time when that glistening and gleaming, bright Stanley Cup is going to make its way down Grant Street, the Boulevard of the Allies, Commonwealth Place, right where it belongs, the heart of Pittsburgh, the confluence of the three rivers here at Point State Park. I'm Shannon Perrine here with Andrew Stockey. We could not be more thrilled. Pittsburgh has so much practice with championship parades. We know how to do this, right? And Pittsburghers come out. I don't care what you were doing. It's the last day of school for my kids today. They're here. Yeah, they might have skipped school today on their half day. Lots of people here blowing off work, doing what they need to do to get down here because, you know, for some people, this just doesn't happen very often. And some cities, They don't get this ever. City of Pittsburgh does.
Yeah, it happens like every year now. But it is an exciting time for the city of Pittsburgh. The Stanley Cup is here. The hockey's holy grail, really the greatest trophy in sports because it's something that everybody can share. And today, we're expecting nearly 500,000 people, according to the city, to share in this celebration, which actually began after Game 6, after that amazing win, that heart-stopping win. I know you were tense at the end.
I was so tense. Those first, really, like 2 periods, and just going back and forth. It was fun to watch, but it was difficult to watch.
Well, the way they won that Stanley Cup and the celebration on the ice was really the beginning of this summer of Stanley. So we want to take you back to Nashville, to that moment when the Penguins on the ice finally got to raise Lord Stanley's Cup.
A moment in Nashville, hard to sum up in words.
Yeah, we battled and, obviously a special group, and it's pretty crazy, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say, really, to be honest. It's nuts.
The moment happening so fast, it was tough to take it all in.
It was unexpected. We won so late. I feel like it all kind of went by in a blur, the last couple minutes. But certainly, certainly moments here the whole night that we'll never forget.
An unexpected ending for a second straight season.
It's hard to put into words. I mean, you never would have thought at the start of the year that the year would go like this, but it's been a great year, and I'm pretty thankful.
It was a moment to enjoy and savor with family.
My 2 brothers, Clayton, Chris, my dad, Brian, my mom, Tracy, my brother's wives, Shanna and Ashley, and my beautiful wife, Danielle.
And a moment of celebration sealed with a hug and a kiss.
Yes, kisses between husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, and of course, a lot of kisses on that Stanley Cup.
that Stanley Cup has had some lips on it.
Oh, it's got plenty of lips on it. Yeah.
and it deserves it. I mean, you think about the Penguins' names that are etched on that thing already. And there have been multiple Stanley Cups, but this one here, it's full of Penguins right now,
and
that's
those
great.
names are there forever, which is the really great part about it. They are there forever.
Yes. Okay, so we're at the end of the parade route where we're going to see some of the speeches happen, sort of as the parade winds up and the cup makes its way through the downtown area. But you know what? Kelly Sasso and Ryan Recker have an amazing vantage point where they are up on the parade route. They're really going to see how this parade winds through downtown, and they're going to see how the fans are really getting up close and personal with the team and with the cup. Kelly and Ryan, tell us what you see right now.
Well, just a few minutes ago, Shannon, we saw the buses roll through here amid tremendous cheers, and now the players are up along the busway now, getting loaded into the trucks and the cars, getting ready for this parade to start as the Penguins celebrating their 50th season with another championship. And Shannon and Andrew touched on some of those cities that are so hungry and thirsty for a hockey title. A hockey-mad city like Toronto. You think about Philadelphia, and now here are the Penguins since 1991, collecting 5 Stanley Cups. And this puts Pittsburgh now with Boston as the only 2 cities to have 5 Stanley Cups, 5 Super Bowl titles, and 5 World Series trophies.
It's bragging rights. For every person here, it's bragging rights when you go out of town, for sure. A lot of the folks we talked to here this morning said they've been here since 6, 7 a.m., and they chose this spot in particular so they could be some of the first to see the team members come in. I think we're getting a live picture from in the skies right now so you can see just how many people are here. I think Shannon hit on this earlier. About 400,000 the city estimated last year. They think this year, hey, it's back to back. It's got to be bigger. I think it's some 500,000 people are here today.
And one of those 500,000 is this gentleman here who's getting quite a workout. It doesn't weigh as much as the real cup, but he's been pumping that thing for 2 straight years now, back to back.
It's amazing for the city, the adversity that the Pens have gone through this season with the injuries to Tanger, Bonino playing with a broken shin, Ian Cole with a broken hand since Washington. They did it for the city. They did it for us. Let's celebrate. Let's go, Pens. Let's do it again. 3-peat.
Every season, you bring up a great point, every season sort of takes on a different theme or a different story, and I think this one was about resiliency and toughness, something that this city can appreciate.
Absolutely. Like I said, the resiliency, like you had mentioned, the adversity, they did it not only for themselves, Coach Sullivan, but they also did it for the city of Pittsburgh, and that's what's most important, bring us together. City of Championships, baby. Woo!
Lots of woos today.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Justin.
Let's also take a minute to reflect back on last year. We had a very similar scene. As we remember, many of the folks were here at that. I think we have a story here to run showing you last year's parade. Let's take a look.
I had one vacation day left, so as soon as I heard when the parade was, I put in for it.
It was a day few Pittsburghers will ever forget. June 15th, 2016, the city celebrating the Stanley Cup champions.
I don't even know how to explain it. There's so many people here. Like, I can't even believe it. There's 10 people deep for miles. Like, this is crazy. I'm in awe.
A record crowd taking to the streets to celebrate the Penguins. But Pittsburgh had been here before. In June 2009, the Stanley Cup was brought back to Pittsburgh for the first time in 17 years. It was the first time since the team's incredible back-to-back Stanley Cup wins in the early 90s.
We don't want to stop at one. We want to go for more.
Back to 2016, Sidney Crosby with another message for the fans, especially the nearly 400,000 that lined the streets of the city that sunny Wednesday morning.
You guys are what make it so special to play here. It's a special town. Obviously, this group of guys, we wanted it bad.
Got it. So incredible. All of us to get to experience this 2 years in a row.
Mike Sullivan said last year on this very day at the parade, let's do it again next year. Well, next year is now, and they are doing it again. A guy that has been along for all 5 of the Penguins Stanley Cup runs. He's covered all 5 of them. My partner, the esteemed Guy Junker, who has, I believe, a very interesting costume
with
that he
Zach,
has
who's
stumbled upon
originally
along
from the
the
great
route.
hockey city itself, Johnstown, Pennsylvania, now lives in Virginia. Zach, when I want to warm something up in the oven, I wrap it up in aluminum foil. You got to be dying in this outfit.
Yeah, I'm pretty hot right now. So you can see all the sweat on my face. Didn't wear a shirt underneath. I'm glad I didn't. But hey, you got to do what you got to do to get the attention you want. So
I'm a little disappointed though. You only have 3 cups represented here. They've won 5.
I only got 2 arms and a head. Maybe next time I'll put them on my legs, and I'll have to figure out the 6th one for next year. So.
How long did it take you to come up with? What's the shirt here?
Well, it's supposed to be a cup, but it's sticking to me and everything like that. I can't take credit for the cup on my hat. My dad made that last night, and I made these. This one last year about 3 o'clock in the morning, and this one last night about 2 o'clock in the morning when we drove in from Hampton. So, and we drove in this morning to Pittsburgh to celebrate one more time.
How much did you enjoy this year's run? I mean, it doesn't get old, does it? It's as good, if not better, than last year.
It takes years off my life when I watch the Penguins. Every time I watch them, it's like, that's why I love hockey. It keeps you on the edge of your seat every time you watch it. But hey, we got it, so it's all that matters. It was worth it.
You get my vote for fan of the day, so
thank you.
There's some misters right over there. Go walk in front of them. You'll feel better.
Yeah.
and the really nice thing is my tan's going to be even now from the reflection off of the aluminum foil. So there's Zach. He's having a good time along with about 500,000 of his best friends. Back to you guys.
Make sure you engrave your name on that, Guy. And speaking of that, 52 Penguin names will be engraved again on the Stanley Cup. And then you know what, Kelly? They're out of room on the cup. They have to take one of the rings off and then put it in the Hall of Fame and start a whole new ring for next year. So there are going to be some legendary names like Gordie Howe and Rocket Richard that will be off the Stanley Cup and be put into the Hockey Hall of Fame in Toronto.
Honored nonetheless, that's for sure. Well, we're talking about one Stanley. Let's take a minute to talk about another. Hopefully we have the video queued up for this guy. Do you remember Stanley the catfish? Yeah, we're not talking about the one that was thrown onto the ice or the one that someone took a bite out of on the south side. We're talking about the one that was saved. He has been resting comfortably at Holy's, and we understand today he is going to be released into the river. We're going to talk more about that and have more coverage here from our Stanley Cup Championship Parade in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh coming up. Stay with us.
You can see it all over, popping up in black and gold. Proof that when it comes to Pittsburgh weather,
he gets it right.
Chief Meteorologist Mike Harvey and the 4-degree guarantee.
The actual temperature 89.
That means one winner gets an umbrella.
Accurate forecasts that earn your trust. With a guarantee you can see. Mike Harvey and Pittsburgh weather. He gets it. But more importantly, he gets it right. Every weeknight on Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
I've never seen anything like it before.
When weather becomes the story.
Wind gusts to 70 miles per hour.
This team delivers critical information you can trust.
Get in a safe place. The sirens are blaring. Everyone has been ordered to the basement.
Pittsburgh's breaking news team. More reporters.
This car completely covered.
You can see the depth of this water.
More locations.
All of a sudden, we saw this.
Before, during, and after the storm.
The wind was whipping like crazy.
Watch Pittsburgh's Action News 4.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh, everybody. It is Celebration Day here in the city of Pittsburgh. You're taking a live look at the city getting ready to explode as we prepare to host the Penguins Championship Parade for the second straight year. Back-to-back Stanley Cup championships, and it's a hot day. It's a warm day, but Pittsburgh is out in force wearing its black and gold, and Shannon, they are wearing it proudly after another Stanley Cup championship.
Everybody had to find that perfect shirt, that perfect hat. Guy Junker talking to a guy actually wearing Stanley Cups. I mean, people put some thought into this. We are expecting 500,000 hot and sweaty Pittsburghers. I think they're going to lose about 500,000 pounds while they're standing here today. Hopefully everybody's safe. We know the police are here, the firefighters and paramedics are here to take care of this city as we celebrate correctly, celebrate on this beautiful Wednesday in June. I love June hockey. You think of hockey as a fall and wintertime sport, but in Pittsburgh we play hockey in the summertime, almost summertime, and we're so glad that you're with us today for this parade celebration. Don't be bummed if you cannot be here today. Guess what? You've got Channel 4. You've got Pittsburgh's Action News 4 and the full force of our reporters and photographers and all of us out here on the scene, and every vantage point you're going to see it. So when the Stanley Cup came back to Pittsburgh on the airplane, touched down, Monday morning?
Yes.
Monday morning. So the Stanley Cup does not get very much rest, and neither does Sidney Crosby. Team captain, number 87, does not want to get any rest because he's got some work to do. He's got to take that cup. Sidney Crosby has chores to do. He has to go to the grocery store. He has to get his dry cleaning done. He's got to go to Rite Aid. Maybe he needs some allergy medicine. I don't know. Maybe some deodorant for a day like today. But he, you know, it's like your child. You're going to take the Stanley Cup with you. You can't leave it in the car. So we have some video, if you want to show that video of Sidney Crosby actually taking Lord Stanley's Cup into the supermarket with him, Saffron's Market in Sewickley. If you know where that is, right on Beaver in Sewickley, and you can see how that went over. The guys at the deli, they told us about this. Here's a little bit about what I think the deli manager, the guy working at the deli, had to say. And they all know Sidney Crosby. They see him in there all the time. He's got to pick up cold cuts. He's got to pick up jumbo just like the rest of us. So he goes in there to get his stuff, and here's what the deli guy had to say about his reaction to the Stanley Cup.
And I said, "Hi, Sid, congratulations," myself and Deb, who was there at the time. He said, "Thank you," and very softly, he's soft-spoken, says, "Would you guys like to see the cup?" And that's when we went crazy.
He goes, "Let me go to the car and get it." And we're like, "Well, that's really neat." You know, it's like, that's usually not in everyone's car.
It is not usually in everyone's car, but most of the time, if you're looking for the Stanley Cup, it's going to be in Sidney Crosby's car. I mean, it just might be in there. I'm hoping he has a baby seat for it, you know, just to keep it safe because it's precious to us. But I think it's amazing. And so since then, we know that, you know, they've taken it to the Pirates game, and each player on that roster gets to spend 24 hours. And we know that the Stanley Cup is going to make its way around the world. You know, this is not just Americans playing on this team. We like to think of all the Pittsburgh Penguins as Pittsburghers. You know, they're kind of honorary Pittsburghers, and every once in a while we get a guy who's actually from the area. But, you know, these are guys that are going to take the Stanley Cup to Russia and other countries, of course Canada, and all over the world. And you know how the world reacts knowing that the Pittsburgh Penguins have been able to secure that Stanley Cup 5 times. And we'll be around here a little bit as well. We'll probably see some more surprise appearances before the week is out. Now, it's amazing that they've won the Stanley Cup. When you consider how this season began, Sidney Crosby started the season not by hoisting a cup, but holding his head as he was a victim of a concussion.
It's just good to be back on the ice with the guys. You know, it's not easy watching.
That was Penguins captain Sidney Crosby in October. Crosby started the season missing 6 games with a concussion that happened when he was injured in practice. But that wouldn't be his last concussion this season. On May 1st, a major hit to Crosby in a game with the Washington Capitals.
Sid's been diagnosed with a concussion.
Crosby being out in the playoffs left the team and fans with so many questions. What would become of their dreams of being the first team this century to win 2 consecutive Stanley Cups? Until just a few days later when he was back on the ice at practice, reinvigorating those hopes.
Good to get out there, skated yesterday too, and felt good, so good to be out there with the guys.
Sidney Crosby got back on the ice in the series with the Capitals, missing only 1 game, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It really is remarkable how quickly he came back. You see, he's had multiple concussions throughout his career. Everyone you worry about, is this the one that may end his career? Came back and led his team to another Stanley Cup.
And I think about last season when he overcame, what was it, mumps? I mean, Sidney Crosby has had so much adversity, even the past 2 seasons. In both these seasons, even in the playoffs, he had a little bit of trouble with his head. And just knowing that he endured that, did the right thing with the concussion protocol, and was able to return to play the way that only Sidney Crosby can play.
And in a little while, we'll see Sidney and his teammates make their way down the Boulevard of the Allies as we celebrate this 2nd straight Stanley Cup. We'll be back with more parade coverage, but as we go to break, listen to head coach Mike Sullivan about a year ago looking into his crystal ball.
We're so appreciative for your support. We know that we couldn't have done it without you, and we know that you're going to be there moving forward. And all I say is, let's do this again next year.
Just thanks for all the support and appreciate the turnout here, and we're excited for the parade on Wednesday. So, it's great to see people turn out here. We didn't expect this. So
you've done this 2 years in a row, and it's still as exciting.
Yeah, definitely. This is what you play for. So to be able to do it, and definitely, knowing how difficult it is to repeat, it's pretty cool. We found a way to do it.
Well, for the 3rd time in his career, Sidney Crosby has brought the Stanley Cup back to Pittsburgh, first in Detroit, last year from San Jose, and now from Nashville. And just a few moments ago, we actually saw the Cup sitting in about the 2nd or 3rd seat in one of the buses that rolled by as there were more player arrivals. We saw Mike Sullivan waving to the crowd. You can only imagine the sight from those buses as they're rolling through downtown, what's going through the minds of the players and coaches.
Because you just heard Sidney say there at the airport, thanks for the turnout. I mean, that was technically close to the public. I think some people squeezed their way into, but it's like, you want to talk about a turnout. We have got 500,000 people here, and I think when they came through on those buses, that was their first glimpse of the scope of what today was going to look like. But yeah, the windows on the buses were heavily tinted, but you could still see that cup shining bright.
It was a little really appetizer for the fans. We're getting ready for the main course here, and I said it to you off camera, I don't care how many times you see that Stanley Cup, every time you see it, it's startling. You can't take your eyes off of it. A quick story from last year, we were doing interviews the day the Penguins cleaned out their lockers, and I had never seen the Cup before close up in person, and we wrapped up the interviews. We're getting ready to leave the arena, and all of a sudden the Cup keeper walked by, and I almost fell over, and I said, oh my goodness, he goes, I'm actually going to put it down. I said, can I have my picture with it? Can I touch it? And so that was my Cup moment last year.
Ryan, that is awesome.
It took me almost 40 years to do that, but I was able to do it.
Well, this is going to be my first time seeing it. I'm very excited about that. I know our Caitlin Sykes is out here live, too, from a different vantage point with some more excited fans. Let's check in with her now. Hey, Caitlin.
Hi, Kelly. Yeah, you guys were talking about your experience with the Stanley Cup. I was with Ryan last year when we saw it in the back of the arena, and that truly was one of the most remarkable things ever. And fans are going to be able to experience that here in just a little bit when the parade comes through. Lord Stanley with Sidney Crosby is going to be a part of that parade, and we're all really excited. These fans have been out here for hours. Some of these fans I know have been out here for a long time since we have been out here. How are you guys feeling?
Good! Woo! Excited! Let's get pumped! Yeah.
What are you guys most looking forward to seeing today?
Lord Stanley.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Mario. I love Mario. I'm old. I love Mario.
What was your favorite thing about this season?
Repeat.
And what does that mean to have the Stanley Cup championship, the Cup, back in the city for the 2nd year in a row? What do you think of it?
Well, I'm from Canada, and I know it's great for the fans around here, but no, it's great. Honestly, it cements their place in history as one of the greatest teams, post expansion or post lockout and all that stuff. So I don't know, it's great for the city. It's great to all the fans here. I love being, like I said, we're from Toronto, so we don't see this. It's great to see a bunch of Pens fans here. Excited for a back-to-back cup, so it's good.
Did you come all the way from Canada today?
Last night, yeah.
From last night?
That last night, 7-hour drive. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, not way up in Canada, just on the border, so not too bad.
That's awesome. Well, welcome to Pittsburgh. You picked a perfect day to be here. Again, so much excitement in the parade, just minutes away. So many fans. We're on Grand Street. You can see fans all over here. They're cheering. They're ready. We are ready to get this parade going. This is grand. I mean, there's so many people here. So many people. We're talking thousands of people down here, and truly everybody's having so much fun. It is a little hot. Here we got the chants going now. See? We're all ready for it.
She's at the rowdy group right there. I can hear it.
And they still have a little ways to go before the real cheering really begins when the players roll through. As this Cup parade getting set to get underway, folks, as you're seeing behind us, Kelly's going to speak to some of them here. Some of them off work today, some of them leaving work just to come down. Little extended lunch break today, perhaps, to get a little glimpse. And we have some youngsters here, obviously out of school, ready to take it all in.
Lady Pens fans here. So you guys said you saw the Cup through the tinted windows of the bus, right? What did you think when you saw it?
That was amazing, and it's a moment I'll never forget.
What is it going to be like to see it like out here and not through a bus window?
Amazing.
Amazing? Do you think it's going to be bigger than you're imagining?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will be like really big.
Yeah. So it's really hot out here. Is it bothering any of you guys?
Yes.
Yes? All right, so it's bothering them, but they're still here, so I'm going to guess that's worth it. But let's go ahead now and bring Ryan back in, and I think we're going to take a check on what their forecast has in store with meteorologist Ashley Doherty. Yeah, it's hot.
Listen, you two need to hydrate. Get some water while I do this 1-minute weather forecast, okay? And that's the thing, is staying hydrated today with the sunshine and the humidity. Again, live look, it's just amazing to see the folks down here, Point State Park, and again, we'll be continuing to cover the parade. But the thing is, though, we do still have a chance for thunderstorms popping, not so much as the parade starts, but I think towards the end, it's kind of a repeat of yesterday, around 12:30, 1 o'clock, we really started to see some of these isolated storms popping. Some clouds already starting to filter into parts of Allegheny County. They should whirl in during the parade time. And we have the stationary front. That's what's going to spark up a chance for some thunderstorms. Again, we'll have the heat and the humidity, so that's the instability. A lot of these storms into Ohio continue to push just a little southeast of our area. Right now, 77 degrees with that dew point at 68. It is very muggy. Those winds are light, but it wouldn't even be a cool breeze. It would be a warm breeze as those winds pick up. Breaking down the next 12 hours and what you can expect during the parade. Again, I think we'll notice these high clouds filtering in, but towards the end of it, by the time a lot of folks may be heading home, that's when we'll start to see some of these storms popping, and that's what you can expect this evening. A chance for some thunderstorms this evening and into the overnight, and those daytime highs back in the mid to upper 80s.
All right, well, pardon the bad pun, but I think no matter the heat, rain, there is nothing that is going to put a damper on this parade today.
And we've seen, I'd say, in the last 10, 15 minutes, folks really start packing in here along the barriers, trying to get a spot. They've got to be 7, 8, 9 deep here right now, just trying to catch a glimpse when things get underway here in less than 10 minutes from now.
I was just at the U2 concert last week in the throes of this. I mean, this is what it was like. I mean, this is like, and U2 is the biggest rock band in the world. I mean, come on, this is crazy. This is nuts. All right, we're going to send it back now to Andrew and Shannon out there at the main stage at Point State Park for their perspective. Hey, guys, how's it going?
Hey, it's going great. You know, we're at Point State Park, and it's like the Arts Festival times about 100, you know, and everything compounded together in the city of Pittsburgh. We were just here a week ago for the Arts Fest, and now this Point State Park is filling and filling and filling with some pretty warm Pittsburgh Penguins fans, and they are excited. One of my favorite signs I saw somebody holding up was, we don't throw catfish, we throw parades. Sorry, Nashville. I know that the folks in Nashville are, you know, looking on this today and very sad. They know what it takes. I mean, it's not easy to win a Stanley Cup. I think you've told me it's one of, if not the most difficult trophy
It
to
is
win.
the hardest trophy to win in sports. I mean, you play 4 rounds, best of 7. Games may go to single overtime, double overtime. You never know. It's 2 months playing every other day to win the Stanley Cup. And to get as close as Nashville did, it's heartbreaking. It's great for Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
it's
and
great for Pittsburgh.
You talk about the team. You talk about, you guys are experts on the team and the players and what they do. And we, sometimes as reporters, we talk about, and I tend to romanticize it, but you think about the fan base in the city of Pittsburgh. It's really like none other. Guy Junker's from Baldwin, grew up there. Kelly Sasso's from Greensburg. Ryan Recker's from South Park. I'm from Moon Township. You've lived here forever. You've lived here a long time. You count. I count you.
I'm a Pittsburgher now.
As a local, and so you get the sense. It's hard to know that other cities just do not react this way to their sports teams and support them the way they do. But there is a relationship there between the team, and on days like today, you get to see that. You get to understand that. And we talk about all the playoff games, and it's not even a question anymore if there's going to be the big screen up at outside PPG Paints Arena, but how many big screens and where the big screen's going to be and where are you going to be and how do you get tickets? I mean, it's the fan base here is like none other, and this is a time where the nexus of the team and the fans come together and just get to party.
Well, let me share also what makes Pittsburgh unique when it comes to fandom. I have a chance to travel all the time with the Steelers, go on the road with our local teams, and to go to those other cities and see the Pittsburgh fans there, whether they are from Pittsburgh or just cheer for the team, is remarkable, and it's unlike any other fan base in the world of sports.
Do you get the sense that some players want to play in Pittsburgh because of that?
I think more and more now. I think there was a time when a lot of baseball players didn't want to play here, a lot of hockey players didn't want to play here. Football, I think everybody's always wanted to play here, but I think now the team is not only successful, strong management groups, you have state-of-the-art arenas, all that together makes this a very desirable place. Plus, you, the fans, I mean, it's incredible no matter where you go. I mean, this is the subject. I think Sally Wiggins said once, the Steelers or the Penguins and Pirates are the news in this city. They are number one. That's what we talk about.
Sure. Absolutely. I remember, talking to Jerome Bettis years and years ago after a Super Bowl win and him saying, the fans help. The fans help. I mean, and make no doubt about it. The players are the ones on the ice with the Pittsburgh Penguins. They're doing the hard work. They're enduring the injuries. You got a coach like Mike Sullivan who is famous for reviewing tape and going back and looking at the video over and over and over again. He's a student of the game. They're doing the hard work. We're enjoying it. We're enjoying the fruits of their labor, and we're certainly enjoying it today. And talk about Phil Kessel. I mean, you said, Phil Kessel is a beloved in this town. You got Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin, players like that who've been around for a while and do unbelievable things on the ice. But Phil Kessel is the guy that came here and really jived well with the city of Pittsburgh.
Well, he went through a tough time in Toronto. He wanted to win a cup. He came here to Pittsburgh. He is soft-spoken, doesn't say a whole lot. His actions speak volumes. I think a great shot last night at PNC Park. He and Andrew McCutcheon singing together and having a conversation. You wonder
That's awesome.
what they were talking about.
I do. And aren't the Maple Leafs still have to pay Phil Kessel for a little bit longer, which is hilarious to me.
Although he did say he's not taking the cup to Air Canada Centre this year.
No, he's going to bypass it. He doesn't have a great relationship with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Hey, Toronto, we're glad to have Phil Kessel here in the city of Pittsburgh. Here's a little bit about what Phil Kessel had to say.
2 for 2, not bad, eh? It's I was fortunate to play on great teams, with great players, and we got it done.
Andrew Stockey with Shannon Perrine back here at Point State Park. This is where the parade party comes to an end, but it's going to get started very shortly, a little bit away from us.
I can't believe we're here. I cannot believe this is happening right now. I mean, I can't believe it. I'm so excited, but you remember, what this team has gone through. This Pittsburgh Penguins team, 5 Stanley Cups, Andrew. I'm just so stoked for this parade right now. And we are just minutes from seeing that parade step off and this team come through downtown downtown Pittsburgh, showing off that beautiful, beautiful, silver, glistening Stanley Cup. We are down here at Point State Park where the parade will end, and we're going to see that cup up close and personal. But first, we want to send it over to Ryan Recker and Kelly Sasso. They're there. You guys so excited to see this parade begin? Let's get this started.
I know. It's like all of this buildup since they won, and now it's finally here. And like you said, we are just minutes away. We got a little bit of a glimpse of that excitement with the team, their family, the Stanley Cup on the couple of buses. Not to, but it's going to get loud over here.
Let's take a look at just how packed in they are over here. Again, these folks have been here for several hours since early this morning. You see how deep the line is. Come on, folks, we're just a couple minutes away. They're ready for it. And here's a young guy here, 13-year-old Ryan, who is here for the parade for the first time. 3 cups the Penguins have won in your short lifetime. It's been quite a ride.
Yeah, it has.
Now, we share something in common. I was 13 when the Penguins repeated for the first time, and I've never seen a parade in person myself. So what are you looking forward to most here today?
Probably seeing the cup.
Have you ever seen it up close?
Yeah, I have. It was at our school one time.
All right, so this will be a different viewing of it. What player are you looking forward to seeing most roll through?
Fleury.
All right, Fleury, and that will be very emotional today, of course. Marc-Andre Fleury, we know his story, the professionalism that he has displayed, and we certainly know his future here in Pittsburgh, at best uncertain right now, and Marc-Andre Fleury very well could be rolling through these streets for the final time today, so emotions will be running high.
Do you hear that?
We do hear it.
We can finally hear it. That's the start of the parade. That's the North Allegheny High School Marching Band kicking things off for us, and we just started to hear the drums. That's exciting.
Yeah, they just gave the cue that we are starting, so we see some police officers coming down, and the first truck will be rolling down here very, very soon. So we're going to step out of the way and give you a glimpse here as, again, the parade route from the busway here at the corner of Grant and Liberty, left onto Grant Street all the way down to Boulevard of the Allies, and then ending up at Point State Park.
And we see Sky 4 getting a shot of the Stanley Cup, the one and the only. There's a lot of replicas here. He is getting the one and the only Stanley Cup. What a cool view. This is what all of these hundreds of thousands of people are lining up to see, and it is about to be feet away from them, almost reaching distance here in just a couple of moments. So here you see our first police officers, which they have just been fantastic all day. Look at all this gear they're wearing. They're out here doing a great job with crowd control. It's been peaceful at the start of the parade so far. About 700 city workers are out here. I talked to some of them today. It was all hands on deck, and they put this together in a matter of days. So we really owe our city workers and our police officers a huge thanks for getting this together.
And as you mentioned, Kelly, the North Allegheny High School Marching Band getting things kicked off today as they will begin the parade. And what an honor and moment for these high schoolers to be a part of this here.
An incredible moment, and here they come. Probably used to cooler temperatures, I would think, in the fall for Friday night football, not today. So here you see the North Allegheny Marching Band. We have our majorettes in the front, and then we're going to have some, looks like some cheerleaders or a pom team behind them. Of course, this is the first festivity as part of this parade. They are kicking things off, and as you mentioned, Ryan, what an honor to be selected for this. With the eyes of not only the city of Pittsburgh, but really the entire nation on our city right now, watching them shine. Get a shot of the Stanley Cup here from Sky 4. Getting the
The Stanley Cup, Kelly, will be accompanied in this parade by the Conn Smythe Trophy, which Sidney Crosby won for a second straight year. And also, we understand Chris Kunitz will be riding with the Prince of Wales Trophy, which the Penguins won for the Eastern Conference. And Kunitz, obviously instrumental in that win against the Ottawa Senators with that goal in double overtime, which will go down as one of the more memorable goals in Penguin history, one of the more memorable games in Penguin history. And you talk about the tension that was in that building that night. Double overtime for the right to go to the Stanley Cup final. And Chris Kunitz has been through this a number of times. This will be the fourth championship he celebrated. 3 with the Penguins, as he's been part of this core with Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, Marc-Andre Fleury, and Chris Letang. All of those guys now a third cup with the Pen since winning their first one in 2009.
And here you see some lucky kids a part of this event. Hey, guys.
And rolling down right now, he's been a favorite for so many years. Kelly, Jeff Jimerson.
Yes, the singer, the national anthem. As so many of the Pens
A star in his own right who delightfully sings the national anthem before every Penguins home game, and that became a talking point during the Stanley Cup final with all the stars coming out in Nashville to sing the anthem. Pittsburghers very proud to say Jeff Jimerson is their singer.
Rightfully so. He has got a place in this parade at the very front. Like you said, people recognize him. He's even got his own jersey there.
They're the guys from Roots Sports. Paul Steigerwald, Dan Potash, Bob Airy, some of the voices associated with this Penguin team. Rob King and Jay Caulfield, former Stanley Cup winner with the Penguins. Now, of course, an analyst on television, as Jay Caulfield shares a distinction with Carter Rowney, who won his first Stanley Cup this year, both from the University of North Dakota, both undrafted. And now here they are winning Stanley Cups with the Penguins.
All right, next we have another big group of folks here. Of course, wearing their brand new 2017 Stanley Cup Championship t-shirts. Hey, guys.
You have some Penguins staff members, some members of the video department. We see Mike Davenport, who works for Pens TV. Some of the folks behind the scenes, they deserve so much credit, too, for publicizing the Penguins, for the marketing folks, for releasing all the great videos, the behind-the-scenes videos that we see. It's a true team effort and a lot of unheralded stories behind the scenes.
Absolutely. So much more than just what we see on the ice. Just the work it takes to put all of this together is just amazing. And now we have another band coming through. This is the Mount Lebanon group from Mount Lebanon here coming through. Another group that should feel distinctly honored to be a part of this parade. Truly one of the biggest events here in the city of Pittsburgh for this entire year.
And if you recognize that, they're playing the Hey song, which became popular in the early 1990s when the Penguins won their first 2 Stanley Cups when they completed their first repeat. That song caught on like fire back in the early 90s, and still a popular song among bands playing it at high schools and so forth. And you hear the crowd here responding with that Hey chant.
Feel free to join in at home. It's okay. You can shout out even if you're on your couch in your living room right now. Nice and cool in the air conditioning. Next, we have a couple of other groups, possibly some folks associated with the team.
And here's the Penguins ice crew. Talk about an important job, keeping that ice clean during timeouts. There they are in their full uniforms. celebrating a second straight Stanley Cup for a number of those folks. And what a job that is for a youngster to be able to be part of that crew.
And what a job today wearing those long sleeves out here in what feels like 90-degree heat.
And we see all the unique forms of transportation. You saw the double-decker bus. Now you see the trolley, and you see another Just Ducky tour rolling through here as Pittsburgh is using all modes of transportation today.
That's right. They might go right into the water from here, right into one of the three rivers. You never know. That might be nice right now to cool down just a little bit. Can you imagine the perspective they're getting to? So many of these folks out here taking pictures of the crowd. I mean, as once in a lifetime as this is for us, too, that is a whole different perspective they're getting. Of course, we're all anxiously awaiting that moment. We're going to start to see some of the team members and the Stanley Cup. Is this Iceberg?
There he is. There's Iceberg.
Iceberg. Truly out of his element in this heat, I would say. Iceberg the Penguin. Hanging in there, though.
Talk about needing to be hydrated on a day like this.
Absolutely.
Even the Zamboni part of today's festivities as we listen into the Alderdice High School Marching Band.
Beginning of summer. Sky 4, is that, did I hear that Cup's on the move and our view from Sky 4? All right. Getting close, guys. About this team too is how it's drawing entire families together. You know, so many young kids and their parents, just a real bonding moment for the whole family.
And here's someone who's a fan favorite, two fan favorites there. There's a legendary Mike Lang riding shotgun there, the voice of the Penguins for all 5 Stanley Cups, and his broadcast partner behind him, Phil Bork, the old 2-9er as he's affectionately known. There he is, a thumbs up for us, for the camera. He won the Cups with the Pens in the early 90s, and here he is now, still a part of things, still an incredible fan favorite.
So it looks like somebody's recording this whole parade that we might be able to see from the parade perspective a little bit later. That's pretty neat.
Mark Recchi just rolled through, 3-time Stanley Cup champion, now a member of the Penguins development staff, so he's now a 5-time Stanley Cup champion. A lot of credit goes to the folks you just saw roll through there, equipment and training staff, keeping the players healthy, Kelly, keeping them the equipment in order, keeping everything in order for the players so they can perform on the ice.
Sure, a true year-round effort. You know, so many of us just think of the games as these once-a-week things or a couple times a week, you know, during the season, but so much more going into that. Right now we have the Penn Trafford Marching Band making their way through, wearing not their uniforms, but honorary Penguins attire, very fitting for today.
Now, don't be alarmed here coming up. I see a gentleman carrying a mini Stanley Cup. He's going to throw some people off here for,
oh, you can't
for
do
a
that
second.
On a day like today. You can't do that.
It's just a little teaser.
They better be careful.
Just a little appetizer. The big one, the real one, coming in just a little bit.
these kids and these bands, too. This is a test of stamina, not just the heat, but the length of this parade. This is a long route. So far, so happy to say we haven't seen any incidents. Everything has been so calm. Can't speak for the entire course. Ryan and I are just here at the beginning near Grant and Liberty, but so far, everyone has been cooperating with police. It's been very peaceful, just very excited.
See some of these youngsters in these trolleys, and wow, you got to think about what a thrill that must be for them to roll through this parade.
They're going to look back on that for the rest of their lives.
Celebration here today, and to say years down the road, remember that parade in 2017? Yeah, I was in it.
Yes.
We're members of the Penguins front office staff, and we've got a unique Stanley Cup hat up there. She's got that on there rather nicely.
And see, they're saying quack, quack, back to back. Of course, on the Ducky tour there. It's a good day for it. It's a great
and we're going to have our
it.
first players coming up here. The roars are really going to get loud. As first up, we have Tom Kuhnackel, Chad Ruweedle, and Josh Archibald. You can hear the crowd. Tom Kuhnackel will have his name on the Stanley Cup for the second time. And an interesting note about Kuhnackel, he, Brian Rust, and Connor Sheary were all born in 1992, the last time the Penguins repeated as champions.
Shannon cracked me up earlier, said, we'll call this an extended lunch break for so many folks here. Try explaining 6 hours to your boss.
Yeah, it's going to be, a few-hour lunch break today for some folks. But I think the bosses are able to look the other way on a day like today.
Just this once, or twice, I guess, if you got last year.
And it is so special, Kelly, as we talked about earlier. From 1992 through 2006, there were no championship parades here. There was a 14-year period where there were no championships won by the Steelers, Penguins, or Pirates. And since then, we've now seen 5 in 11 years. So to say we're spoiled here is an understatement.
I know. I personally feel spoiled. I just moved back home here 2 months ago, and this is already what I've had to look forward to.
Coming down the busway, Carter Rowney, along with Scott Wilson.
It is raining black and gold here.
Confetti flying
today.
here. And what a story Carter Rowney is. Didn't break into the NHL until age 28, just this past January. Comes in, plays a role for this Penguins team. Professionally, what a wonderful experience. And then he and his wife, who just got married last year, had their first child during the playoffs, and he had a beautiful picture that he posted the other day of the baby in the cup. Remarkable.
Little baby.
Ron Hainsey, another great story. 14 years he was in the league before even playing in a playoff game. Penguins traded for Hainsey. in late February. And now here he is playing in the playoffs for the first time and winning the Stanley Cup for the very first time. Trevor Daley, injured last year, was not a part of it in terms of playing and seeing it through in the Stanley Cup last year. This year, he does see it all the way through, and we all remember that emotional moment last year when Sidney Crosby handed the cup to Trevor Daley. His mom was very sick at the time. She would pass away just a couple of weeks later. So Trevor Daley, now a two-time Stanley Cup winner for the Penguins, and he's one of those players that came to the Penguins and saw his career become recharged. It was a rebirth for him. One of the great moves by Jim Rutherford to bring him in, and he's been a main contributor these past couple of years.
And Ryan, how neat too that these players are all throwing out souvenirs to the fans, something especially all these kids can hang on to forever, having just seen them a couple of days ago clinch the Stanley Cup, and now they have something from their players.
And this man here, I don't believe gets enough credit for the influence he's had on the Penguins and Pittsburgh hockey. Eddie Johnston, former coach and general manager. He's now in an advisory role for the Penguins. Former goalie for the Boston Bruins. He's the man that drafted Mario Lemieux back in 1984, and everything changed from there. Carl Hagelin and Ian Cole still sporting the playoff beard. They were both acquisitions by Jim Rutherford over the past couple of years. They too came to Pittsburgh, saw their careers be rejuvenated, and now they're two-time Stanley Cup winners. And a huge roar for this man. Patrick Hornquist scored the cup-winning goal in Game 6 in Nashville on Sunday night, and what a story that was for Hornquist to go back to the city where he began his career against the team that drafted him to score that cup-winning goal. Brian Dumoulin and Brian Rust. Brian Dumoulin has a story to tell. He's now won 2 championships on 3 different levels, 2 in high school, 2 in college at Boston College, and now back-to-back with the Penguins.
You can see them just finally in their elements, you know? Finally getting that recognition from the fans here in Pittsburgh that they wanted and deserved.
And I remember last year, Kelly, we're going to get reaction from the players at the end of the parade today once they come off the trucks, but so many of them were just awestruck last year. I remember Matt Murray saying that was one of the most unbelievable things that he saw, to roll through here and see hundreds of thousands lined up down Grant Street, down the Boulevard of the Allies. We know that famous shot of everyone hanging out of the parking garage down there on Boulevard of the Allies. So these players, to be able to soak this in, and again, so many of them did it last year, but as we say all the time, it truly never gets old. And for the guys that are doing it for the first time, what a moment this must be for them.
Sure. And in their own city, you know, just to see how many people are out here for them. They have to know how loved they are at the end of this, what they've done for our city.
There's Billy Guerin, now a member of the Penguins front office staff. He, of course, instrumental in the 2009 Stanley Cup, so he's no stranger to these celebrations. As Guerin in this front office, again, headlined by Jim Rutherford, what a job they've done in assembling this team, putting all the right pieces in place, surrounding the stars like Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Phil Kessel, surrounding them with terrific support players, and also having the vision to see the young players coming up through the system and be able to identify them and then plug them in and give them opportunities. It's been remarkable to see these past couple of years that combination of experience, star power, and the younger players. And speaking of Matt Murray,
here he comes,
the winning goaltender for the second straight year. And interestingly, because of a technicality, He's still only a rookie this year. So he's won 2 Stanley Cups as a rookie. And joining him is Nick Bonino, who so badly wanted to give it a go with his injury. Could not make it happen, but Bonino has become such a fan favorite for his toughness and blocking shots. And last year, the HBK line became a thing of legend here in Pittsburgh. Bonino and Murray for a second time. Here's a couple of defensemen, Justin Schultz and Oli Mata. And Schultz will forever be remembered for taking that shot late in Game 6 that banged off the boards, went off the back of the net, and then Patrick Hornquist poked it in. They called them the kids. Connor Sherry, Jake Gensel, Sid and the kids. What a story Gensel is. 13 goals as a rookie as he bursts onto the scene here in 2017. And of course, Connor Sherry won the cup as a rookie last year and now gets his name on it again. And for Connor Sherry, what a moment that was in Game 5 when he scored a Stanley Cup goal on his 25th birthday. Traded to the Penguins 2 years ago, Phil Kessel immediately became beloved by these fans who just absolutely adore him. Kessel came here. He performed well along the way, Boston, Toronto, but really was looking for a fit. Jim Rutherford made it happen, trading for Kessel. And you talk about guys finding a rebirth, no better story than Phil Kessel. And Kelly, these fans were already chanting one more year to Phil Kessel as he has a huge smile on his face.
And Fleury.
Matt Cullen, 40 years old. 2 years ago, he thought about retirement. Jim Rutherford said he's going to give him another shot, offered him a contract. He wins 2 Stanley Cups. And the emotions that will take place along this parade route for this man today will be something. What can you say about Marc-Andre Fleury? Before Sidney Crosby, before Evgeny Malkin, Marc-Andre Fleury was the man drafted to turn this franchise around. The franchise goalie, led the Pens to that cup in 2009. Of course, led them throughout the regular season last year before getting injured. Matt Murray took over. We know the difficulties that Fleury has been through, but he has handled it with such professionalism. And again, his future with the Penguins, very uncertain. This may be his final ride through town today. There's a look at Jim Rutherford, general manager, the architect of these back-to-back Penguins championships. You think about Rutherford when he took over here, many criticized the move. Why are the Penguins going in this direction? And we thought maybe Rutherford would do it for a couple of years. Well, he's in it for the long haul now. Mike Sullivan, head coach. The first American coach to win 2 Stanley Cups. The first Penguins coach to win 2 Stanley Cups. As Mike Sullivan has made his way up the list of all-time great Pittsburgh coaches in just a matter of a couple years.
I've never seen him smile so much. That was incredible.
No introduction necessary for this man on the right in the back of the convertible there. Mario Lemieux, next to him, co-owner Ron Burkle, as Mario will now have his name on the cup for a 5th time. 2 as a player, 3 as an owner. And you can't imagine any athlete in all of sports having more influence over one franchise than Mario Lemieux has had. First as a player, a Hall of Fame player. Perhaps the most gifted player the game has ever seen. Saving the franchise on the ice and then saving it a couple times as an owner. So Mario for the 5th time. Hoisting that cup the other night, that was something to see.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier in so many ways. We have him to thank for everything that we're seeing right now. Such a big hand in that.
So many stories to tell as they roll through, and It's going to be interesting to see the reception that Marc-Andre Fleury gets as he goes through that parade route today. More confetti flying here at the start of the parade. But Fleury has been such a fan favorite. One of the most likable athletes Pittsburgh has ever seen. So well respected by his teammates. One of the most likable teammates there ever has been in Pittsburgh. This perhaps his final farewell today. So an emotional ride through the streets for Marc-Andre Fleury. Chris Letang with his third cup with the Penguins. This one obviously different because Letang had neck surgery in April. Was not part of the playoffs, but was still there mentoring the defenseman and lending a hand any way he could. We talked about Chris Kunitz earlier. This is now his fourth Stanley Cup. One with Anaheim, 3 now with the Penguins, and the Prince of Wales trophy accompanies him. Kunitz scoring that game-winning goal in double overtime against the Ottawa Senators. Evgeny Malkin for the third time in a Stanley Cup parade. So Letang, Kunitz, Malkin, we know who we're waiting on. We saw Fleury earlier. This is the core, the Penguins core, that core 5 that has now been part of the 3 Stanley Cup runs starting
and now the
with
only
2009.
one left, Sidney Crosby. I'm pretty sure he's coming up pretty soon.
And here he is on the back of this truck. Sidney Crosby. Crosby off the back of that truck, lifted the cup up and took it right over the fans. He is as gracious of a superstar athlete as you will find. And no better example of that than what he did when he got off the plane. Drove to Sewickley, took it to his local supermarket, took it to the drugstore, took it to the dry cleaners. The places where he goes around his town, he wanted to share it with those folks.
Share it with the community. That's right. Just as they're doing today. It is bigger in person, Ryan. I didn't think it would be that big. The crowd, of course.
Sidney Crosby also traveling with the Conn Smythe Trophy. He's a back-to-back Conn Smythe winner for winning the playoff MVP. And how would you like that for a story to tell? I was at the Penguins Parade in 2017. Sidney Crosby stopped and brought the Stanley Cup over.
That's right, but of course if you're watching our coverage right now, you're going to basically get to see it all again from a different vantage point. We're going to have cameras stationed all across the city, of course, and Shannon and Andrew are watching things down at the main stage, so you'll get to see that cup again. And now we have the Gateway Marching Band following right behind Sidney Crosby. Not a bad gig at all. Not a bad gig at all.
And back to Sidney Crosby for a moment. His greatness goes well beyond the ice. He is an ambassador for the game, an ambassador for the NHL. And in my time covering sports, I have never met an athlete, as I mentioned, so gracious, but so accessible. He will do interviews before games, after games, on days where there aren't games. He is just an incredible person in so many different ways and carries himself with such humility. And to think back to when the Penguins drafted Sidney Crosby, all of the pressure in the world was on this young kid, this 18-year-old kid. Everything was said about Crosby in terms of what he needed to be and what he needed to accomplish and what he could be. It's not often that we see an athlete exceed the hype. Sidney Crosby has exceeded the hype, now a third Stanley Cup.
Everyone we talked to before the parade and asked who are you excited to see. I mean, that's not to say anything about the other players, but like 99% said Sidney Crosby. Sidney Crosby, he's a true fan favorite.
And he will turn 30 in August, so he's still a young man.
Still the kid. We can still call him that, I think. Once again, guys, thanks for joining us with Sidney Crosby coming by with the Stanley Cup. That sort of put things to an end. We had a couple more marching bands, and now the parade's moving on down Grant. Yeah,
they rolled through here to get things started. This crowd obviously delighted. These folks, they're either going to go get a seat, try to get a seat somewhere else. I don't know how possible that would be with hundreds of thousands. But we're going to take you to on the other end of the parade, the end of the parade with Andrew Stockey and Shannon Perrine to take over our coverage. Guys?
All right, Ryan and Kelly, thank you very much. Great job from the start of the parade. You really got a sense of how exciting this is going to be. The Stanley Cup there, all the people coming through, all the great players. I mean, the excitement, and of course down here, it is really beginning to build.
I don't know if you can tell how excited Ryan and Kelly are about the Stanley Cup.
No sense at all.
I mean, they're just a little subdued. They're freaking out. We're freaking out. It's so exciting. This city is just alive. It's electric right now. So many people came from so far away just to make sure they were here for this moment. Kelly talked about some folks who just couldn't get here last year, and guess what? City of Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh fans are so spoiled that, you know what, we'll have another parade. We'll have back-to-back championships just so you can get yourself down here and see that Stanley Cup in person.
As you continue to watch the parade, the players are beginning to make the turn onto the Boulevard of the Allies. They're making their way towards Point State Park. This is the long straightaway where all the fans are situated, and the players are now getting a full sense of how big this celebration is going to be. A record celebration if estimates hold to close to 500,000.
We are so glad to be able to bring you Sky 4 with Action Cam showing the route, showing how the city of Pittsburgh, the downtown, the Golden Triangle is just filled with black and gold fans right now as the Stanley Cup snakes its way down Grant Street and the Boulevard of the Allies. We've got Commonwealth Place, which is where we are, right in the middle of Point State Park, where the stage is set up. And this is what it's all about. This is what it comes down to. This is a championship, folks. This is for real.
In fact, Shannon, the beginning of the parade is making its way to Commonwealth Place. As you see, it's now beginning to arrive towards Point State Park. So the very beginning of the parade, which you saw right here on WTAE Channel 4 and the WTAE mobile app, it's now culminating here at Point State Park. This is where it's going to get really loud and really exciting. And of course, once those players begin to show up, it's going to go to a whole new level.
And you have to think about what these fans are going through right now. It is extremely warm and extremely humid, and they are packed in like sardines in Point State Park. You know, Pittsburgh was the birthplace of the terrible towel. We've seen other teams adopt the towel for waving. It's okay. You're allowed. We'll let you do it. And, you know, of course, the Penguins fans have used these towels, too. These fans are using the towels as sort of a shade and to sort of mop themselves up right now. They're glad they have those towels, and they truly are a little bit terrible right now.
Well, I remember Myron Cope once told me, he said, it's okay to use the towel to clean up messes. If you're sweating, it's okay to pat your face with it. It's a towel. It's made to be used, not just to be looked at.
That's right. That's right. And we've got Guy Junker on the parade route. Guy, what do you have?
Ronnie, who got his first playoff action this year. Carter you guys are professional players that play in front of 18,000 people a night. Do you get an idea of what you mean to the city when 500,000 people turn out to cheer you on?
This is unbelievable. I mean, the city hall, it feels like everyone's here right now. This is surreal. This is cool. I can't even stay in the truck right now. I just want to get out and, see everyone as much as I can. And, it's been unbelievable so far.
How does it work with your day with the cup? When do they ask you when you want it? And do you know what you're going to do with it the day that you get it?
I am not sure what day I'm going to get it, but I'm going to take it back home to my hometown of Sexsmith. And, I'm excited to bring it there.
We got some more action coming in here.
There he is. There he is. What's up, bud?
How come you haven't shaved the beard yet?
No, I might grow it for the next probably 10 years. I'm just going to keep it going. I'm going to try and keep it going.
going.
I was asking Carter that, you guys play in front of sellout crowds all the time. That's 18 to 19,000 people.
Yeah.
How's it feel to have 500,000 cheering you on?
I think I remember last year, just being a part of it and, kind of soaking it in last year, but this year it means a lot to me, and it's been, I told the rounds, I said, just be ready for this because it's absolutely insane with the fans of Pittsburgh we have.
Do you know what you're going to do with the cup the day that you get it?
I don't know. Last year was a little out of control, so I think I'm going to do it a little low-key this year, but, we'll see how it goes, and we'll plan ahead when we know when it's coming in.
What was it like being with the Pirates last night and your interaction with them? They all seem pretty much in awe.
Yeah, really cool. I know, we got some hockey fans in there. I know Kutch is a huge hockey guy, so, those guys were awesome to us, and, even being around Sydney all the time and guys like Gino being in that locker room was, I was a little starstruck for sure for some of those guys.
How much sleep have you gotten since Sunday?
I would say probably negative hours. Probably negative. I'm in the negatives. What's that?
Have you got any sleep yet, Scott? You plan on?
I think I got 2 hours last night. The night before that, I almost slept in Sid's pool, so it's it hasn't been much of a sleeping opportunity for us.
Wrap it up. Trevor.
What's up, buddy?
Who do you got here?
I got my daughter, my son, Trevor, and Emery.
You guys having a good time?
Having fun?
Yeah.
Hey, what do you guys think?
How proud are you to have your dad's name on the Stanley Cup? That's pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
How do you describe the last few days?
It's been crazy, yeah. Just what we just accomplished, what we achieved, it just says a lot about our group. Our group's a special group that, we're a resilient group that we knew we could do this again, and here we are. We did it.
You had to survive 2 Game 7s. I mean, a lot of injuries, and yet you were able to find a way.
Yeah, it's just, like I said, just a resilient group that, the will to win, the want to win, led by our captain. We just followed along, and, it's well worth it.
How much better for you? Last year you got hurt in the conference finals and you couldn't play in the finals. I mean, a championship's a championship, and that'd be a lot better being able to participate.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. From the time that, the finals started, I was, thinking about being able to be on this stage and, to finally get to it a year later, it says a lot about our group, but, personally, it's amazing, yeah.
I'm sure you're not surprised at this turnout because of last year, but what do you say about this?
Crazy. I'm just about to get to the best part right here. This is pretty cool. I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
All right, enjoy your family. Penguin defenseman Trevor Daly and his family and his kids, and just a wild scene. Yeah, I think it is amazing. These guys are used to playing in front of a lot of people, but I don't know that they realize what they mean to the entire region, and a lot of people that can't afford hockey tickets or season tickets get a chance today to rub shoulders with them, and that's why it's such a great scene down here. Back to you guys.
Guy Junker, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Guy knows a lot about the sport of hockey. He's played hockey in his time, and he also just knows a lot about the city of Pittsburgh and what this means to the people who have come out here today. They would miss this for the world. Another summer of Stanley in the city of Stanley, where the Stanley Cup belongs.
And I think you made a great point, the fact that I think the one thing about the Penguins and maybe just hockey in general, there are a lot of people here who probably can't afford tickets to go to the games,
right,
and have never been to the arena, but because of things like the big screen, because of this parade, and because the Penguins are so active in the community through volunteering and giving of their time, they feel they're close to the team. And so it's not just the fans who go to the games, it's those who are sitting at home watching on TV, those watching on the big screen who feel a part of this. And I think it's one of the reasons the players are just so overwhelmed, because they realize, oh my goodness, there's more than 18,000 people who care about us. There's a whole region that's into us.
You talk about some of the folks that are coming down, and we're seeing them coming down Commonwealth Place here into Point State Park. They're going to be hitting the stage here soon as the cars make their way. One of those first cars is Coach Mike Sullivan, who came mid-season last year and made such a difference with this hockey club, and the relationship he has with Matt Murray, who played. They both. Coach Sullivan coached the Baby Pens. He brought some of those players up. Matt Murray being one of the most notable, making such a big difference in this team.
He's had a major impact on this team. And right now, let me send it back to Guy Junker along the parade route with another interview with a champion Penguin. Guy. All right, we'll get back to Guy in just a few moments. As you know, it's a little crazy along the parade route as people are kind of coming up and down and talking to us. Guy Junker is there. He's talking to a number of the Penguin players that you mentioned. Head Coach Sullivan. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, we do have Guy Junker back. Guy.
I think he's having the best time out of you guys.
I think we all have a good time, but for sure, probably one of the younger guys, Jens, I would say, who came up and played great for us. And, you know, he's 23 years old and scored how many goals, and you know, that's good for him.
You guys have had so much support all season long, but to see everyone come out and support you guys here today, it's such a special day. What is that like?
No, this is something you're never going to forget. This is crazy to see all these people come here for us, and we've been having support all year, but this is for sure the craziest I've ever seen it.
Now, who's going to be the first guy to say, let's do this again next year?
We all going to do it. We're all going to do it.
Did it sink in that you scored the game winner yet?
Yeah, a little bit. That was a big moment for me, at least in Nashville, and score that goal, and you know, to win this cup. That's a special moment for sure.
Patrick, in Sweden, how big a day in Sweden when the 2 goals in the championship game were both scored by Swedes?
Yeah, I'm so glad for Hagi when he scored that second goal there. That get a little emotional, but that was great. So thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Patrick Hornquist, you get your name on the Stanley Cup, but only one guy every year has his name as the cup-clinching goal scorer. He'll forever be remembered for that. So more players coming down right here at the turn at Grant and Boulevard of the Allies. We'll grab them as they come off the cars. But for now, let's head back to Andrew and Shannon.
Guy, this year I'm going to learn how to spell Hornquist. That's my goal for next year. If they win another Stanley Cup.
For next year. You can work on that during the off-season. I'll tell you, though, Patrick Hornquist, for him to score the game-winning goal, so appropriate. I mean, here's a guy traded for James Neal, a deal that a lot of Penguin fans weren't crazy about.
Right.
He becomes an integral part of this team, a scorer, and then, you know, he was hurt, of course, during part of the series. Comes back and scores the game winner against his old team. You couldn't write a script like that.
Yeah, with James Neal there looking on.
Just amazing. Just amazing. And a wonderful guy, too.
It was poetic. I'm going to say it. It was absolutely poetic. And I believe that in my heart. Today is very poetic when you look at this team and when you look at the folks coming down. The roster of the Pittsburgh Penguins does look an awful lot like the roster from last season, that another winning season for these Stanley Cup champions. But it's not exactly the same. You know, there are always changes. There are always injuries. We had Chris Letang getting injured in the spring here, and that was a real blow to this team.
Well, also, Jake Gensel.
Yes.
I was there for his first game. He gets called up from Wilkes-Barre. It's like, who is this kid?
The kid lit it up.
First shift, first shot, he scores.
Yep.
You know who did that?
Sidney Crosby.
Mario
Lemieux
did that. Yeah.
Mario
So you're
Lemieux.
like, okay, he's off to a pretty good start. A lot of these young kids just coming up and coming out of nowhere contributing. That's what makes the Penguins so special. You know, Connor Sheary, and Jake Gensel, Brian Russ, these are guys in the last couple of years who weren't household names, weren't even names here in Pittsburgh, and they played crucial roles in the Stanley Cup championship.
When you talk about Mario Lemieux, a lot of people have had fun over the past few days comparing the Mario Lemieux and Jaromir Jagr duo with the Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin duo. I mean, we've seen the pictures of Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin with mullets on, which I totally think they should grow, but they don't take my advice on their haircuts. But you think about a duo like that, just powerhouses. I mean, you have other players across the league saying these are the 2 best players in hockey.
Well, it's unfair to actually compare eras, in my opinion. I mean, Mario and Jagr, first time for Pittsburgh.
Okay.
First generation of Penguin fans, back-to-back. This group, you've got Crosby and Malkin. New generation, a revival of Penguin hockey, a different era. So it's really tough to compare, but they were both critical at their times. And here's the other thing, too. Let's remember, the Crosby-Malkin era is not over yet.
No, it's just getting started. I mean, let's rewind 10 years. We're here, you know, in the middle of June in 2017. But if you go back to 2007, we were celebrating for another reason. This city just found out that there was a deal being made. It was super secret, a lot of negotiations, a lot of tense talks, a lot of stress when you talk about this team and the future of this team back in that era, that there was talk that the Pittsburgh Penguins could leave the city of Pittsburgh. And here we are in 2017 celebrating another Stanley Cup championship.
Well, it's remarkable. Let's thank Mario Lemieux, who had a huge role in making that happen. Okay, let's get back to Guy Junker, who's along the parade route.
we're about to go down the best stretch here, I think, by the parking garage. But it's crazy to see how many people are coming out to support us. And to answer your question, no, this never gets old.
Have you had a chance to sit back and reflect as to what you guys have done here, winning back-to-back?
Not yet, no, not really. It's been such a ride since we won, so I haven't really had a second to ourselves yet, but it's been a blast, and we're gonna milk it for everything it's worth, and we're gonna enjoy it while we're here.
What did it mean to you to get the cup from Marc-Andre Fleury the other night?
Yeah, that was, that meant a great deal to me. That was a really special moment for me personally. He was such a mentor for me ever since I got here, and I should have got the cup almost dead last with my rank being so low. So he felt the need to do that, and it's just such a kind gesture. Again, it meant so much to me.
Saw the video and pictures from Sid's house the other night. Who's having the most fun out of you guys?
Probably only Nada, I would say, but everybody's having a great time.
Now, how long is this party going to last for you guys right now?
Well, all summer for sure, but here in Pittsburgh, we're going to be around for the next week probably, and then, the party never stops. You get the day with the cup at home, and that's always a good time, and then you just keep going from there. It's a fun summer.
Man, what are you going to do with the day?
Yeah, that's a technicality more than anything, but it's nice. It's nice to win the cup back to back. I feel so honored to be a part of this team.
Matt, what are you going to do the day that you get to take the cup with you?
I haven't really thought about it yet, to be honest. It's still a long way off, so we got to get going here. All right.
Goalie Matt Murray, the statistical oddity of having won 2 Stanley Cups, and yet he was still considered a rookie this year because he didn't play in enough games last year. Just another one of those stories attached to this Penguins team that makes them so unique. He's the only guy ever to do that. And, of course, don't forget, Marc-Andre Fleury won 9 games. He won 7. Back to you guys.
All right, Guy, thank you. And, I do want to quickly mention, these guys are so accessible, too. They always talk to the media, which I think is remarkable. Sometimes in the world of sports, athletes don't always want to talk. These guys, win or lose, are stand-up guys, and they will talk after games.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said that. It's not always fun, and I think they know that it's part of the job, and their fans want to hear from them, especially after a tough game. If they've had a loss or they've done something they shouldn't have done. I mean, this team is pretty great, but, they had some rough moments there.
They did. And the thing is, they never get too down. They never get too high. I mean, I remember talking to these guys before Game 6, and they were just very even keel.
I mean, we think about Sidney Crosby doesn't get excited too much. He's very calm. But then you think about that series against the Predators and Subban, and Subban getting under his skin. I think one of the lasting images I'm going to have of this whole season is that Subban's head going off the ice a little bit. Sidney Crosby having a little too much.
I think PK Subban will remember that too.
Yeah.
For quite a long time to come.
That's right.
As we continue to watch this parade unfold and head down Boulevard of the Allies, a lot of the players are making their way towards Commonwealth Place, which is the turn before you get into Point State Park. And, of course, the base is building. We're seeing a lot of these floats and boats and cars come on down here. The crowd is getting excited. I'll tell you, it has been like this for a solid hour plus.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hot out here, but people have been screaming nonstop.
Some people have been here, they said, to secure their spots since 3 o'clock in the morning. This is how important this is to the city of Pittsburgh. Let that wash over you. The city of Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Penguins, have just won their 5th Stanley Cup, and they did it in back-to-back fashion with the last series. I mean, the last season. It's just incredible. Just stop and think about it. I know we've all kind of been sort of on a euphoric high since Sunday night, but this is happening. This is real, folks. The Stanley Cup is back in Pittsburgh. It's where it belongs. Like you said, it never left Pittsburgh. We've been taking very good care of that Stanley Cup.
As we continue to watch the players make their way down the Boulevard of the Allies, let's remember now, playoff hockey has become almost a way of life here in Pittsburgh. Now, we understand that from April until June, that is what the focus will be, and it's every other day. I think it's what makes hockey so great. You don't have to wait 7 days for the game like in football.
Right.
It's not something you have to wait till October and there's only 1 series like baseball or 2 series. It's 4 series for the Cup. It's every other day, and within the game, as you know, it's highs and lows, and believe me, if you have not had your heart medication before the game, bad sign.
I know. You got to be careful, and this team has definitely given me some heart palpitations, and I know that I'm not alone. There are a lot of people out there, some fans, who get pretty stressed out with these games. Let's just go back through the playoff series. There are 4 rounds. All of the opponents that the Penguins faced in the playoffs were extremely tough opponents all the way back to the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Well, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the team everybody thought was ready to take that next step.
Right.
We knew they were going to punish the Penguins. They may not win the series, but they would be very physical. The Penguins win that series in 5 games. Well, they would tell you it was a tough physical series, and you wondered, would they be ready for that next series against the Capitals?
And the Capitals and the relationship that the Washington Capitals have with the city of Pittsburgh and the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's pretty adversarial.
Oh, without question. I mean, these two cities not like each other. As much as people say Philadelphia is a rival, no, it's the Capitals. It's Alexander Ovechkin. It's going to beat the Capitals. And that went to 7 games, a 7-game series to the limit. The Penguins won that series to advance to the conference final. But once again, they were tested, they were pushed, physically beaten up. So they went into this conference final against a team that a lot of people didn't know a whole lot about in the Ottawa Senators.
Right. I loved that Guy Junker really introduced us to that region and went to Ottawa, spent a lot of time in Canada. I know that Guy's passport has a lot of stamps in it right now because he's been, you know, Guy said during that series, Guy said that, you know, this is a team that's really a whole country is behind the Ottawa Senators right now, facing the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they were not going to give up without a fight. They were tough.
And let's give Ottawa credit. They took it to 7 games.
Yeah.
It was a tough series. The Penguins wound up winning that series as we continue to look at the parade route unfold and players sometimes hopping out of the cars to greet the fans. I saw one guy I forget which player actually getting a selfie taken. So
yeah.
they are mixing with the crowd. They are engaging the crowd. But back to our Stanley Cup path, they get to the finals against what frankly was the best story in hockey prior to the finals, the Nashville Predators. The 8th seed of the Western Conference. They sweep the Chicago Blackhawks, and that puts them on the map. But a lot of people aren't believing in them. All of a sudden, they get to the final, and it's not just the Predators. It's the city of Nashville. I think it's every country music singer in the world.
I thought Carrie Underwood was going to put ice skates on and take on the team. I mean, I was afraid of her. She's little, but she's tough. I mean, she was behind the scene, and that's a great fan base. I give that city so much credit for rallying around their team and this sport of hockey and falling in love with that new rivalry between the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Nashville Predators. But, you know, catfish or no catfish, it was super gross, by the way, Nashville. Let's cut that out. You know, this ended the way it ended, and now we are celebrating with a victory parade in the city of Pittsburgh.
Well, I think Nashville, having them in the final, made it one of the most popular finals in the last 5 years according to the TV ratings.
Oh, yeah.
You had storylines. I mean, the catfish thing, yeah, it was a little gross, but also a lot of fun.
Yeah.
To have all these country music singers involved in the rivalry versus Jeff Jimerson, I think was great. So it had all the elements, and then a great finish and a great ending. Patrick Hornquist scoring in the final couple of minutes. Carl Hagelin adding the empty net goal. So it really had everything. And now we get to celebrate this. And as I continue to look at this parade route, these Penguin players, I love the fact that they are engaging and talking to people and shaking hands because the fans really do feel that close to them. I mean, I talk to people all the time who talk about, you know, somebody like Chris Kunis as if it's their brother or their sister or
friends.
Just a family
we
member.
hang out.
Yeah, so now today they get to do that. And I don't know any other city in the world. And I've been to a lot of cities and seen a lot of celebrations where the fans and the players are one. And it happens in football. I mean, remember years back, Troy Polamalu went, what do they call it, body surfing? Or into the crowd?
Crowd surfing.
Crowd surfing, okay. I'm not that hip, everybody. Now Penguin players are signing autographs, taking selfies, sharing the cup. You know, it's like, even though we didn't win it, as we weren't the players, we feel like we won it. And I think that's what really makes it so special here in Pittsburgh.
Well, exactly. And when you talk about the fan base here in Pittsburgh, like we've said, we've had a lot of practice with this. You know, I do want to talk a little bit about Evgeny Malkin and his trip and his journey here in Pittsburgh as we get ready to see the announcements being made. Yeah, here it goes. Here it goes. It's almost time, folks, for this. If you've watched the parade, Evgeny Malkin, any other team would be thrilled to have one of these players, Sidney Crosby or Evgeny Malkin. Pittsburgh Penguins have 2.
I think it's remarkable. The 2 best players in the world. It's not just in the league. When you talk about hockey, it's in the world. You have Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. And, you know, you would think with 2 stars it would be difficult to have the kind of success you do because sometimes star-based teams don't always succeed. Hey, let's get back out to Guy Junker. Once again, a lot of Penguin players are talking. Let's see who Guy has for us right now. Guy?
It's crazy every time. You don't get used to it. We have the best fan base in the NHL, so not surprised, but it's always fun.
I know it was a disappointing postseason for you, but this has to really make up for it. Winning the cup again.
I mean, it's all right. You know, it's part of the game, and like always, when some something goes wrong, you have somebody to step up, and guys did an unbelievable job. It was fun to be part of it, and they always made me feel that I was part of it, so it's a great day.
Chris, I know you would rather have been playing, but you got to be really proud, especially the way the defense performed while you were injured.
Yeah, no, they played great. Everybody bought in, and everybody knew their role. They were playing really well, and I mean, everybody was playing 21 minutes, so they have a big chunk of ice time. They had to play really well, and we played a tough opponent, so sorry I'm sweating.
With this core group has been able to does that sink in? Do you think about that? Do you 3 cups now?
I mean, I think we're always looking forward, so next year, why not? And I think that's the way to approach it.
Any plans with the cup?
I already sent my date, but I don't know yet. I don't know. A lot of drinking.
Yeah, he had the neck surgery, and boy, what a great defenseman he is. A lot of people didn't think the Penguins had any chance of winning the Stanley Cup when it was announced just weeks before that he wasn't going to be able to play in the playoffs, but they did. He's back in the pickup truck. Chris Kunitz will be along shortly. He has the Prince of Wales trophy with him. And then after that, Sidney Crosby with the Stanley Cup and the Conn Smythe trophy that he has won 2 years in a row. Here comes Chris Kunitz now. The Prince of Wales trophy is for winning the Eastern Conference title. It's one that a lot of teams won't touch or pick up when they win it out of superstition. The Penguins did that in 2008 and lost. So in 2009, they said, to heck with it. Sid picked it up. They won, and he's been picking it up when they've won it all 3 times, 3 straight cups ever since. There's Gino Malkin and his family. Mom and Pop Malkin have become cult heroes in and of their own right. When they're shown on the screen at the arena, the place goes crazy. Really grown to love America and hockey in Pittsburgh. We have a pretty big gap now before the next car because that's the one with the Stanley Cup. So why don't we throw it back to you guys and come back up here when Sid stops lollygagging and gets down here to the corner.
Well, they're a little busy guy. Yeah, they're hanging out with fans. I mean, you talk about Gino and how much excitement and energy and electricity he pumps into this team, and just how skillful he is. He's beloved here. He had a baby. He and his girlfriend had a baby this time last year. So he's been maybe changing diapers and practicing in between practices. But 1 year later, he's getting to hoist that cup again.
Well, I love the fact that he plays with such emotion. I think a lot of people love the fact when he scores, he bangs into the boards. He's not afraid to show how he feels. And I think about this hockey team, the emotion they show, it's something we don't talk about a lot, but they are an emotional hockey team. And that emotion, I think, is what the fans love. They're real. When things are going well, they'll let you know. When things aren't, they'll be a little bit sad, but they're going to show their emotion. And I love that. I absolutely love that. And that's what makes them a team, I think, that has really crossed a lot of lines, in terms of, age groups and demographics in this city. They are a team that is real. You feel like, maybe I don't speak Gino's language, but he and I can hang out and have a beer and have a good time.
Exactly.
And Sydney, okay, maybe Sydney may not have the beer, but I'll go skating with him. We can hang out together.
So, and if the cup makes its way back to Russia, if Evgeny Malkin is going to be able to visit there again, I mean, you know the people in the town where he grew up, Magnitogorsk, I think. I don't know. His junior team was from there, and knowing how much they appreciate him. It's similar to when Sidney Crosby goes back to Canada and shares the cup and shares himself with that community there and gives back to that community, and how much these two individuals in this hockey team are just beloved.
I've been to Cole Harbor. I've been up there to visit and spend some time up there, and that's a town where Sidney Crosby is everything, yet you wouldn't know it. I mean, you drive in the town, his parents live in the same house he grew up in.
It's amazing.
There is no sign that says Cole Harbor, Nova Scotia, home of Sidney Crosby. It's a very understated place. I went to the breakfast place where he goes to when he's home. There's maybe 1 or 2 pictures of Sidney. And that's the kind of person he is. And that's, I think, one of the reasons, I think everybody loves him so much, because this is a guy who honestly could be Kevin Durant. He could be, LeBron James. He could be one of the biggest names in sports. Instead, he's just Sidney.
Yeah, exactly. I hear some cheers going up from the crowd here at Point State Park. They're really getting close to the thing that they came here for, and that's to set their eyes on the Stanley Cup as this championship cup comes through the city of Pittsburgh, ending up here at Point State Park. We said it before earlier in the day. I'm going to remind you that when you look at the Penguins logo, just get the logo in your head. It's back behind us on the stage there. You see a triangle in that logo. That triangle, well, we know what that's about. It's Point State Park. It's these three rivers coming together here, the confluence that forms the Ohio, and that is woven into their very logo, and that is where this cup will end up here right now, and I just think it's just so fitting that it's here.
And the Penguins really took 50 years to build this brand. I mean, back in '79, remember, they wore blue for a long time.
They went to black and gold.
They changed their colors to black and gold. The Boston Bruins weren't happy about it, but they did become part of the city. The logo is part of the city, and as time has gone on, their success has now been part of the city. So it's not been, as I like to say, it's a 49-year overnight success story.
Yeah, and in those years since the 70s, you know, a young man named Mike Sullivan was born in the city of Boston, and I'm sure is a big Boston fan, and here he is in Pittsburgh. I mean, I think the team, you can hear it in his Boston accent that, you know, he's definitely not from Pittsburgh, but he's gelling pretty well with this team.
Well, I'll tell you, he's a history maker. He is the first American-born coach to win consecutive Stanley Cups. Actually, to win 2 Stanley Cups at all. He's in the line of Toe Blake of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who's the only other coach to do that his first 2 years in the National Hockey League. Toe Blake's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying Mike Sullivan's going to the Hall of Fame, but he's off to a pretty good start.
He is. You really have to have him in that conversation for sure. I mean, and it's those conversations that, you know, the coach matters, right, Andrew?
The coach does. I mean, obviously we go through a lot of coaches here, and people will think, well, the coach really doesn't matter. I mean, look, they won their first 2 cups with 2 different coaches. You know, you got Badger Bob and you got Scotty Bowman. They won another cup with Dan Bylsma. But the coach does matter, especially in a league where a team that's so young, a team that needs to be picked up at times. He said all the right things, made all the right moves. The most critical move he made, switching from Fleury back to Murray, paid off. So, yes, a coach does matter in the National Hockey League, and Mike Sullivan has proven that.
Absolutely. And you know, it's not just the coaching staff, but it's the general manager and the ownership team. They are building these players. They are making selections and making decisions that have a huge impact, right?
And they have not made a bad decision. You know, that's what's interesting. Usually you look at a team, it's like they're going to make a couple bad decisions along the way. You know, everybody thought the James Neal deal might not have been a good decision.
Right.
But, you know, every move they have made has been the right move in the last 2 or 3 years, and it's paid off. Now, eventually everybody's going to make a mistake. But right now, I mean, Mike Sullivan and Jim Rutherford have the golden touch. Everything is going the right way. The Penguins right now are the odds-on favorite to repeat as Stanley Cup champions next year. So all those things together, I mean, things are pretty good right now if you're with the Pittsburgh Penguins organization.
It's a beautiful roster. I mean, it's just, it's perfect.
And you know what's even more amazing? How young they are. I mean, we talk about all these guys. Matt Cullen might retire. You know, Chris Kunis, is he going to be back? We talk about all these guys who might move on. Look at all the young kids. Gensel, Sheary, Rust. I mean, they've been doing this for a while.
And they're all guys that are doing something on the ice.
Right. They're all contributing in major ways. As we continue to show you live parade coverage here from downtown Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Penguin players might have been here a little bit earlier, but right now they're signing autographs and talking to fans along the parade route. So they can take their time. Nobody here minds at all.
They are taking their time. They can do whatever they want. When we talk about the team ownership, we talk about the general manager and big, hard decisions, difficult decisions that need to be made in the coming months I'm not going to lie, we're looking forward to next season. Today is not about that. I don't know if you agree with me, but today is not about thinking about trades and Marc-Andre Fleury and his role and where he's going to be next year. Today is just about a party. Today is about a celebration. Today is honoring the sacrifices that these men went through. Like you said, some of them very young, some of them not so young, some of them much more experienced. But every hit they took, every shot they made, every block, everything that they did this season, this is what it comes down to. And it's time to celebrate. And this city is so ready to party.
I tell you, I talked to some members of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
I mean, they are fired up.
Yeah.
They are fired up about this to the point they're saying, you know what? We got to do this.
Sure.
We need to go and win this. I think when you have a team in a city that wins the championship, it inspires all those teams. I'm sure last night the Pirates were singing this thing. Look, we're having a great time. Love having these guys here. We got to do this. And the Steelers, Arthur Moats told me, he said, you know what? They won one. If we don't win one, it's going to look bad, so we got to take it up a notch.
I know. And the Pittsburgh Pirates, you said that the Stanley Cup visited the Pittsburgh Pirates at their game last night at PNC Park. And I think that Stanley Cup actually may have given Garrett Cole his mojo back.
Oh, without question. He was struggling as a pitcher. All of a sudden, he goes out last night. Those 7 innings, allows 1 run, John Jaso hits that home run that hits off the top of the fence and goes over the fence for the game winner. Kutch, who's been struggling, 2 home runs. In fact, I'm going to share a story with you briefly. So the players are in the clubhouse, the Penguin players. Matt Cullen has 2 young boys. They come over to Andrew McCutcheon. They're big McCutcheon fans. Andrew goes, "Hey kids, could you rub my bat for good luck? I've been struggling." The kids rub the bat. What does he do? 2 home runs.
Coincidence? I think not.
All right, we are here at Point State Park. This is where the rally will conclude and the speeches will start, hopefully over the next half hour or so. We've had the duck boats, the pickup trucks with the players coming by, dropping off those players making their way down the Boulevard of the Allies to what's called Commonwealth Place, which is right in front of Point State Park. These players along the way have had their families, and by the way, let's give a big round of applause to their families, because being the wife of a hockey player, the son or daughter of a hockey player cannot be an easy life.
Yeah, and you think about the entire organization. You feel, it's similar to baseball. There's a lot of games. There's a ton of games, and even in the playoffs with those 4 rounds, I mean, they're traveling. They're really, and it's when you play hockey in the city of Pittsburgh, your season is very long. It's not a short season. It starts in early October. Those regular season games, and it goes until June. You don't get a lot of time off.
And this season began with a celebration of the last Stanley Cup, but also began with Sidney Crosby getting over concussion, dealing with concussion-like symptoms. So it didn't start off. It started off with a celebration, but you were concerned would they be able to do this. There have been a lot of resilient teams in the history of sports, and I'm not going to say the Penguins are the most resilient of all time, because that's not true. But they are one of those teams that has faced multiple challenges along the way and have overcome them. And a lot of us didn't think it could happen. I mean, I'll be the first to admit, when Chris Letang went down, I was kind of like,
it hurt.
Conference finals, maybe. He's the best defenseman in the game. They somehow overcame that with a group of defensemen, 6 guys. This guy Junker has told us many times, whose time was split evenly throughout the postseason. Think about that. 6 guys, their time split evenly, and they did the job, and they were the unsung heroes of this hockey team.
Coaching has a lot to do with that, I have to say. I mean, when you think about how do you replace a guy like Chris Letang? I mean, he's a fan favorite. How hungry is Chris Letang to get back on the ice right now?
I saw him a couple times, as you're at the games, you're getting there for the pregame, or after the game, you see him walking through the hallway, and you could tell his frustration. I mean, I could see it in his face, how he wanted to be out there. He wanted to contribute. Right. It's hard for him. I mean, he's happy. He's very happy. He's excited for these guys, but he's the guy who wants to be on the ice for the final seconds as the clock winds down and they win the cup, and that didn't happen this year. He's going to work hard to come back next year and be a key contributor to this team, and hopefully still among the best defensemen in hockey.
Yeah, and Sidney Crosby in the same vein. When you get an injury, especially a concussion, you get an injury, somebody like Sidney Crosby, and your team doctors are telling you, guess what, you can't play. That's got to be very painful for somebody like him.
Well, remember, during the playoffs, he suffered a concussion, and we're all like, we were looking back at his history, and the shortest time he'd been out was six games. So we're like, he's going to miss at least, 5-6 games? Didn't miss a beat.
Nope.
Didn't miss a beat.
No, came back strong. And the journey that this hockey team has made here in the city of Pittsburgh, we talked about 10 years ago in 2007 when we got word that the Igloo would be no more. There would be a new arena, which is what the team had wanted for a long time. And that deal was done with all the local elected officials and the team, and making sure that was going to be, and that there was no more fear that the Penguins would leave the city of Pittsburgh. Can you even imagine anybody talking about that now?
Well, not now. I mean, I remember at that time, it was kind of like, it was not only a possibility, but Mario Lemieux visited the Sprint Center in Kansas City with Penguin officials and with NHL officials. When that happened,
ouch.
I can remember everybody here was like, this could really happen. But a couple things happened, as you mentioned before, the arena deal. Winning the draft lottery. I mean, let's face it, it was the luck of the draw. I remember being in there that afternoon watching. It was between us and I want to say the New York Rangers for Crosby. And that one ping ball went to Pittsburgh. And we were all like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because it would have been, especially for the National Hockey League, to have Sidney Crosby in their #1 market would have been huge at the time. And then the ping ball just went to the Penguins' favor. And all of a sudden, he